And what he found is that, in fact, we had only 5,000, 10,000 bears back in 1950, 1960. And today, we have 20 to 25,000. What's going on? Warming's supposed to be killing them. Well, in 1973, hunting restrictions were put in. That's why we have 20 or 25,000 bears. It was the hunters killing them off. So they restricted the permits, bears populations are up, we're fine. In addition, the populations, the natural populations, are increasing in the warmest areas, which were Alaska and Siberia recently. But these are very adaptable creatures like us, and they have incorporated and formed a new Saskatchewan home security firm, and they are doing really well now. They can buy meat from Oklahoma, and they are eating just real well. They're thriving up there. Here's some few scientific facts. Water vapor is a dominant greenhouse gas. Probably never heard that. The alarmists always leave it out when they talk about gases. And they get away with it for this reason. Don't worry about this table, it's a science, not science class, and I'm going to point to two things. This is why they leave it out. It's variable in the atmosphere. It goes from 0, where in the deserts, to 40,000 parts per million, where in the tropics, where it's really hot. This amounts to 4%. So it goes 0 to 4%. CO2 is mere 280, 380 parts per million. And when you total up the factors, it is 90 to 95% of the net global warming effect on the Earth. So whatever affects water vapor, clouds, precipitation, etc., is the big gun here. The small trivial gun is any CO2 effect. You can prove this to yourself. Let me just take a look. This is a desert region, Snake River. In fact, the nighttime minus the daytime temperature is 60 degrees difference. The day is 60 degrees warmer than the night. Why? Heat radiates away to space. It's gone. However, take a humid region like right here, and the nighttime versus daytime is only 15 degrees. Why? Because you have all that water vapor trapping the heat in, keeping it warm here. The global temperature has cycled naturally throughout all of history. Now, for 500 million years of the Earth's history, these are the range that the temperatures have been for the globe. 12 degrees C to 22 degrees C. We look at the past 500,000 years, 12 degrees C to 22 degrees C. Right now, the Earth's in the middle at 15. In the past 3,000 years, the nature has cycled us through a whole series of warm and cold periods. Here's a few of them listed, not all of them. And we're running about 12 to 17 C. The middle is around 15 where we are right now. All natural. Now, I'm not going to spend time on this one or this. We don't have the time tonight, but I'm going to show you this one because this is where there are immense gore lies going on. 500,000 years in the past. This plot is in his book. This plot is in his movie. However, when he shows this, he never shows this axis labeled with numbers on it. Because in fact it says we're going from 4 degrees above the average C to minus 8 degrees C below the average. A range here from the high peak to the low peak in temperature, which is the blue line, of 12 C or 21 degrees Fahrenheit. That's a huge, huge swing in the temperature of the whole Earth. Now, Gore plots this little 100 ppm change in CO2. The red line on the right-hand side here labels this, and then that makes the scale of the CO2 the same as the temperature, and then he says, oh, it's obvious. CO2 is changing the temperature. Two problems. Physics is the first one. Physics says that 100 ppm of CO2 cannot change the global temperature 21 Fahrenheit. In the last century, the claim is we've risen 1.2 Fahrenheit in 100 years. And what change in CO2 has there been? 100 ppm. So even if you believed all the nonsense, 1 degree Fahrenheit's all we're going to get, not 21. Physics prohibits it. The other big deal is when the scientists who gathered these cores looked at it in detail, they found that in fact the temperature changed up or down 800 years before the CO2 changed, which means temperature drives CO2. CO2 does not drive temperature. Another false claim here, Antarctica is melting. Antarctica is in fact cooling and the ice is growing down there. Well, here's what's going on. The people doing all the claiming and researching are standing out here on the Antarctic Peninsula here, surrounded by water, which makes a very unique and strange microclimate, it's called. That is in fact melting back a little. That represents 2% of Antarctica. There's a little bit of melting here along the seacoast here on the west side. That's some melting. But all of the rest of this, all those plus signs, are growing ice in Antarctica. That's 80 to 90% of Antarctica's area is growing in ice. The average, we're adding ice, we're staying about the same. There is not a problem with Antarctica melting. And it should be if CO2 warming is occurring, because CO2 will make the poles melt first. Another false claim, the glaciers are all melting due to global warming. Some are. Some are growing. Some are stagnant. Dr. Roger Braithwaite, expert glaciologist, published a paper in a peer-reviewed paper in an academic journal, Progress in Physical Geography. He said in that paper, 160,000 glaciers exist. 60,000 we've done some minimal inventory. 79, and only 79, do we actually go in and have measured these things to know how much ice is there for 5 years or longer. That's the only place you could get any science about glacial melting. From these 79 out of 160,000 glaciers. What does he conclude when he goes in and looks at the data on these? No obvious common global trend of increasing glacier melt in recent years. Conclusion to that journal article. So, what I've walked through tonight is I've established 4 things for you that you need to walk away with. There is no scientific consensus on the global warming crisis. Top science experts worldwide are the skeptics. The crisis data and models are invalid. That's all it's got, is surface data and models to rest on. The temperature data shows a global cooling period began in 2001. We could see that on Dr. Spencer's plot. And natural variations, from variations in the sun and variations in the oceans, are controlling our global temperature. The alarmist claims are ideological lies. They have no scientific foundation. So, that is a look at the science not lying behind the global warming crisis. And now I'd like to turn over the floor to John